Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about one of the best horror movies released last year, and it's a British horror film called His House, which is a film about a couple who immigrate from South Sudan. They're refugees, actually, to London. And the movie is simultaneously about the horrors of doing that, as well as a weird entity that they seem to have brought along with them that is haunting them.
Yeah.
That's without getting too spoilery, because this movie's kind of hard to talk about without kind of giving some shit away.
Yeah.
Needless to say, this movie manages to successfully do three amazing things. Number one, it manages to be a great movie that showcases like the horrors of being a refugee and immigrating to another country, and the horrible way the other countries often treat you, even though they're like, oh, we're welcoming you refugees with open arms, and then you get there and then they just completely...
Yeah, the well-meaning white guy is played by Matt Smith of Doctor Who fame.
Yeah. And so they, like it does a great job of showcasing that. It also manages to be a great, amazing metaphor for survivor's guilt.
Oh, yeah.
Like the same way the Babadook was a metaphor about grief, this kind of does a similar thing with survivor's guilt. And it does it amazingly. While also just being like a spooky as shit, like, ghost story. I say ghost story, but it's like kind of ghost story, kind of not. We'll get to it.
Yeah. But if you want an idea of like how the movie functions, it functions like a ghost story.
Yeah, it kind of does. The acting is great. The scares are great, and
oh man, just the whole dynamic of the two main characters, are the husband and wife refugees, is fucking great because the wife is worried about. It's the two sides of when you're having to make your home in a foreign country.
The dichotomy, if you will.
Yeah, the dichotomy, if you will, of I don't want to really give up my native culture. That's the wife's side. Yeah. The husband's side is, look, I gotta fit in.
Yeah, he's assimilation.
Yeah, he's assimilation. Yeah.
You know, she's trying to retain everything that they came from, as well as being part of the new country. And if the new country's not going to accept them, then she's completely willing just to go back.
Yeah.
You know, and this is with the fact that they came from war-torn South Sudan, which is in the middle of a civil war. So if going back might be a death sentence, but like that's, you know. But I guess it's like at that point, like what's the worst death? Like the losing everything that you are, or the literally dying, you know?
Yeah. Which one has higher priority?
The reoccurring dehumanization that's happening with where they're currently living in Britain, because they haven't even gone completely through the immigration process yet. They're still at the stage where they're being monitored the whole time, and they need to be one of the good ones, so they'll be let in.
Yeah,
permanently.
Yeah, because like they're even separated from the other refugees,
which is like it's just an inherently dehumanizing process, no matter where you're immigrating to, because it's like you're not even treated like a person at that point. You have to be treated like a model citizen. Like it's
you're treated as a potential contagion.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, and the movie fucking demonstrates how horrifying and paranoid inducing and just traumatizing that experience in and of itself is. And that's not even like getting into like the way it showcases the trauma of where they came from.
Yeah.
You know, watching the world that they lived in slowly crumble into a civil war, and everyone they know and love dying, and them having to like make horrible choices in order to get back into a world, only for that world to completely reject them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, it's this like, oh man, like this movie showcases both like the fictional mythology horror as well as real world horror, and it does it like better than most movies.
Really well. And it uses one of the ongoing metaphors that it uses is this temporary housing that they're in. The state that apartment is in is a metaphor for what's going on.
It's also like it reminded me a little bit of the movie Girl on the Third Floor.
Oh yeah.
Where you have like a guy who's trying to do reconstruction on a place that's clearly haunted.
Yeah.
But like the state of the actual building starts to reflect the interior mental state.
Yeah. It reflects the interior state of the relationship of these two characters.
Yeah.
And the main other difference is that the horror is something that they brought with them.
Mm-hmm. You know, which just increases the whole metaphor of the survivor's guilt thing, because survivor's guilt is a thing that you bring with you.
It's the main metaphor of the movie.
Yeah.
It's the main thing that the movie's about.
Absolutely. So, man, what more can we talk about without spoiling shit?
It's really hard because, like, this is one of those movies where prepare to be emotionally devastated.
Yes. There is a very particular type of movie that is simultaneously devastating, but also so damn good.
Oh yeah,
I put this up there with the Babadook and movies like that were just. It showcased a very particular part of the human experience. And
it's one that not a lot of people are privy to.
Yeah,
that's the important bit.
While also being scary as fuck.
Oh yeah.
I'm a hardened horror fan. I watch scary movies every day. So when a movie actually like gets under my skin as much as this movie did, like, you did something well.
Well, yeah, because like every scene like foreshadows something horrible.
Oh God.
And so you just you start getting anxious because you're like, oh God, this is the thing that's oh God, what does that mean? Oh God,
like attention movies like The Unholy. This movie is how you do good jump scares.
Oh geez, yeah.
like the tension, the setups, the payoffs, the bait and switches that happen throughout. Like,
yeah, because nothing's normal. It's not like something jumps out of the screen or out of the corner or something like that. It is literally the first thing is, wait, what's that? Wait, I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
Wait, what the wow, my God!
I also like it that this movie has a very, very, because of its premise, it has a very perfect conceit for why, why don't they move away?
They can't!
They literally can't. They have to live in this house, and they have to prove themselves to be model citizens. They can't go anywhere, or they're kicked out of the country.
Yeah, they can't even live outside, or they'll just be fucking deported.
Exactly. They'll be seen as a leech on the system at that point,
Yep.
It's got this is not getting into like plot spoilers or anything, but it's got some really great what would you call them, scary gags.
Oh yeah.
Like there's one in particular that stuck with me long after watching the movie, and that was this whole gag where like there's spooky shit happening around the character, so he turns on the light, which makes the spooky shit go away, only for him to start seeing the footprints that show that the spooky thing is still there.
Yeah.
Like on the floor. So it's just like, oh God, was turning on the light any better?
It's just like, light? Fuck that. What do you think I am? Think I give a shit? Fuck you.
And there's a lot of really cool gags like that kind of play with some established horror conventions and go in different directions with it. And I thought they did a great job with that.
It's also one of those movies that kind of gets into like the does the stalker, the thing that Stalker does, which is you transition into this like insane mindscape that is, you're not entirely sure how literal it is.
Yeah.
But they do tell you what's going on. They're not going to leave you hanging as to what's going on.
This movie is not a movie that doesn't give you answers.
Yeah, it gives you answers, but it waits till the end.
Yeah.
It waits till the very end. And it's really cool because, like, when the guy is just thinking about the house and, then all of a sudden he's in his kitchen, but the kitchen is now in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And
which parallels the journey back, the journey from the South Sudan on the boat to Britain.
Yeah. And
on the refugee boat.
Yeah, so you're like, is he hallucinating? Is he remembering? And then you realize in the movie is saying like, no. This is the emotional truth. Whatever is literally happening, this is the emotional truth.
It's right below the surface.
Exactly.
You know?
It was really good that way. I really loved it.
The other thing I really like about this movie is also showcase something that is actually very, okay, for lack of a better term, it's actually very foreign to Americans. So, in this movie, you have two black people coming from Africa, or South Sudan, and coming to a Western country, and they encounter black people that live in that country, only for those people to tell them to go back to Africa.
Yeah.
That is something that I have trouble imagining happening in America, but makes sense for Britain.
Yeah. America doesn't work. I mean, that shit.
Well, in America, what
happens?
In America, what seems more likely to happen is if they were like Arabic or something,
exactly.
They'd be told to go back to Arabic or whatever. But like, actual black people that live in America get to go back to Africa so often, it's hard for me to imagine them wielding that against another black person.
Also, we put our refugees in different communities.
True.
Then, we don't put them in Compton for some reason. They might move there.
We also don't exactly get that kind of refugee.
Exactly.
Our refugees tended to come from South America.
Yeah, because like from like Africa, that's a way harder trip.
And I will say this: you do sometimes get Hispanic people telling other Hispanic people to go back.
Yes,
to
that's the parallel. That's true. Right there.
You do sometimes get that, and that's partially because you have different types of Hispanic people from different countries, and so they have different prejudices.
Yeah, different assumptions about each other.
So that is true. That does kind of happen. Like when I put it in that context.
It's just not necessarily with African Americans.
But that was like a really, that scene stuck with me because that was like, oh shit, hey, look, there's other black people over here. Maybe I can go over and talk to them and be more comfortable, but they're just as prejudiced as all the white people.
Yeah, because and of course it's the wife that runs into them because she is the like, go back home, like I should keep my culture. Whereas the husband, he does run into that, but he also runs into people who are actually like kind of accepting of him.
Yeah.
They're just sort of like, oh yeah, you're just another bloke. That's fine.
Like, there was a point in which, like, he was offered to go into this church, and I first thought, like, the church was going to do something terrible to him, because I'm so used to America.
Oh, yeah.
Where, you'll get, like, half the churches will be, like, immigrants welcome, and the other half will be, like, we'll pull out our guns on you.
Yeah.
But, like, the church, like, just gives him, like some refugee supplies.
They're just like, oh, yeah, you're a refugee? Yeah, here, have some shit.
So he's actually getting, like, a partially better experience than she's getting.
Yeah. It was. I actually thought that was very fair of the movie because like you're like the entire culture is not gonna tell you to go home. The authority does.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, like, once again, like a lot of the movies we've been talking about lately, it's not entirely black and white.
Yeah. Ironically,
this is good. This is bad. It shows how like gray and complicated it is, and at the root of it, what's really awful is the system itself.
Yes. Yeah. The dehumanization itself is the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. His House is a Netflix original movie. At least here in North America. I don't know in other countries if it's on a different platform. But here in America, it is on Netflix. So if you want to watch it, go watch it on Netflix. And with that said, we're going to move on to the spoilers so we can actually talk about the entity in the room.
Yeah.
Because talking too much about that would be giving too much away. So here are the spoilers.
Yeah, so the basic, the entity turns out...
An Apeth.
Yeah.
I actually looked this up. An Apeth, which is actually a spirit from South Sudan mythology. And it is basically a spirit which punishes those who steal.
Yes.
Is basically the crux of it. And in this movie, you spend a huge chunk of the movie trying to figure out, okay, well, if that's true, what did they steal?
What did they take? Yeah.
What's going on here that's caused them to be haunted by this Apeth? Because the story that they give is like the old myth of like the person who stole from this one Apeth, and then the Apeth's haunting the house.
Yeah. You take my shit, I haunt your house.
You know. So in this movie, they're being haunted in this house, which is another reason why they can't just move, because this thing's going to go with them wherever they go.
Yeah, and one of the things that the movie does to help you gain sympathy with these main characters, they have a daughter that didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You see it at the very beginning of the movie, and like the mom saying that like I will protect you, but then you notice when they make it to the UK, the daughter's not there.
Yeah, so you know something happened.
You know, I mean, you basically find out over the course of the movie that she died on the boat ride over. They basically hit a bad storm, and she did not make it. And it's obvious that they feel guilty about this, but what you're trying to figure out is how does the ÄthEth factor into this? Like, why is the ÄthEth punishing them? And obviously this is an overarching metaphor for survivor's guilt, but there's also a little bit more to it plot-wise.
Yeah. Oh man, that reveal was so good.
Oh yeah, because basically, like, and here's the biggest spoiler of the movie.
Yeah.
You basically find out that the daughter was not actually their daughter. When they were escaping the country, they came across these escape buses that were going to take people to the boats to take them to a different country. But they were only allowing people they reached a point where they had reached a threshold where they would only allow people on the buses at this point if they had a child that was in immediate danger. Basically, while they're trying to get on the buses, they're being rejected or whatever, and so they end up grabbing this little girl.
Yeah, they steal a kid
who seems to be all alone and lost, and they grab this little girl and they pretend that it's their kid, and they get on the bus, and they basically, you find out that the girl's mom was looking for her, and like, and then like these fucking trucks of people with guns show up shooting everyone.
Oh yeah. So
So basically, you get the impression that they left the mom to die and took off with the kid.
With their kid, yeah.
You know, and then they got on the boat, and then when the boat fucking like capsized because of the storm, the dad saved the mom but let the kid drown. Instead of saving the kid, like just saved the mom and got her onto the rescue boat.
Yeah, it's also that it was definitely one of those like you can only do one of these.
Exactly.
You know?
So the guilt they're facing is that A, they stole this kid, and B, they did not save the kid when the kid was drowning, despite vowing to protect the kid.
Yeah.
And the reason why the ÄthEth is haunting them is because they stole that kid, and then in turn stole that kid's life.
Yeah.
Now, what I like about this whole situation is that it's not entirely black and white. Yes, they stole this kid, but had they not stole that kid would have died when the guys with guns arrived.
showed up. Yeah.
So he would have died with the kid would have died either way in this scenario.
Instead of two people in the scenario living, probably all four would have been killed.
Yeah, everyone would have been dead in this scenario. So it's like, what I like about it is that it's a great example of how survivor's guilt sometimes works, because sometimes in a extreme and traumatic scenario, you have to make terrible decisions that are awful decisions and bad decisions, and you will fucking regret them for the rest of your life, but ultimately they're the decisions that keep you alive.
Yeah. Someone gets to live as a result.
Which is one of the nature of survivor's guilt. Like, soldiers experience this all the time. Like, you have soldiers that feel guilt because, like, they went to war and their brothers in arms died, and maybe there was something they could have done to have saved one of their friends, but that might have cost them in their life, so they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's
people have like survivor's guilt over, like, I know some people who like their like a sibling died of a disease they both got, but one of them lived.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe in that scenario. Another example is I've seen stories of kids who survived school shootings.
Oh yeah.
And like like the things they're not proud of they did when the school shooting started, like, you know, like crawling over another kid or doing something like that, or like running and hiding and not like helping everyone else when they're in danger, but like you're just trying to survive in that moment, right?
Yeah.
You know, like and you think of all the kids that died, and like, well, maybe I could have done something, but what could I have done? I would have been killed too. And It's why the adults are supposed to be there. Oh yeah, it's why they're supposed to be there.
You know, like, it's why the adults are supposed to be there and handle it, you know?
Absolutely. And I thought this movie did a really great job of much like how The Babadook is just an amazing metaphor for grief, or It Follows is a great metaphor for sexually transmitted diseases and the stigma that follows you with them.
It follows you.
It follows you.
Yeah.
This movie is an amazing metaphor for survivor's guilt, and I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
Like, it is... It sat with me, and it's still sitting with me since I watched it. And it took me way too long to watch it. Jack actually watched it last year.
Yeah.
And I was gonna watch it, but so much shit.
Yeah, when you say, you know, when I was told like, oh, he wants to do this movie, but it's one you saw like 6 months ago. Do you remember it? And I was like, oh, well, what movie was it? And they were like, His House. I was like, I remember that movie crystal clearly.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
I'm not joking when I say
Holy shit.
I know that a lot of movies got delayed last year, but of the movies that were released last year, this is definitely like, if not the best, one of the best.
Yeah.
That came out in terms of not just horror movies, any movie.
Just any movie. Yeah. Super good.
It's fucking fantastic. So, anything else you want to say about His House?
Oh, dude, the movie will haunt you. It will stick with you.
Oh God, there's some,
because it's so good.
The other thing that one of the ways the Apeth haunts them is it doesn't just haunt them by showing up himself and being his creepy,
being the creepy creature,
ghost witch thing. There's also the people that died along their journey to get there show up.
Yeah.
Like friends that died when their initial town was attacked. People they left behind, like the mom.
Yeah.
The daughter.
Yeah.
All show up and like haunt them in the house. So like they're not just being haunted by the guilt of what they did, they're also being haunted by all the people that suffered when they survived.
Yep.
You know, and man, is that intense. That's just,
yeah.
You know, and I also like that, the way the imagery in the movie where you like see them like peering through holes in the walls and stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of like cracks in the walls open up and there's like someone's eye, you know.
You know, again, this whole part of the movie reminded me a lot of The Girl on the Third Floor, where you have like the deterioration of the house mirroring.
Yeah,
you know?
and it has that great like feeling. It makes it feel like somewhat Lovecraftian because it feels like reality is distorting around them. And
also those trippy scenes where like he's in the ocean and stuff like that. Oh, the truth is just below the surface, and it is because she drowned.
Yeah. Super well written. Everything about this movie was just fucking spot on.
It is top notch. This is how you do spooky ghost story. Even though it's technically okay, there are ghosts, but like the main entity is not a ghost. It's like an entity that controls ghosts.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you know. But it's definitely like it lives in your house now. It's gonna fuck with you. So you know. Oh man.
Also,
it's mean.
Yeah.
It's so mean.
I also really like this new breed of horror that we're getting these last few years. Like, what was it? Like, In the Shadows, the one set in Iran.
Oh, yeah. In the Shadow? Yeah.
I think it was called In the Shadow. Even, like, this was an American movie, but The Djinn, which we watched a little bit. Watching these horror movies about entities from different cultures.
From different cultures, yeah.
And instead of like kind of like Americanizing them too much to where they're just demons now.
Yeah.
Like actually doing them kind of as they're supposed to be.
Yeah, giving them the actual like cultural twists that they actually, and the characteristics that they actually have.
You know, and showing how you can still tell like a spooky story that way.
Yeah.
You know, because I think, what was it? In the Shadow, wasn't it an Ifrit or was it something else?
In the Shadow, it was also a djinn.
It was also a djinn?
Yeah,
okay,
but it's a different type of djinn than in the djinn, but it fulfills the same function. It does the same thing, but like there, the djinn is the metaphor for the rising fundamentalism of Iran. You know,
and I feel like movies like those three movies, The Djinn, In the Shadow, and this movie kind of show that there is a ton of different types of monsters and stories that we can tell. That we just got to be willing to do it.
Oh yeah, totally. They're all out there.
You know, for everyone who ever says that, like, oh, we're all out of ideas, we can't do anything original anymore.
Yeah, we don't. We're not out of ideas. No one's gathering them.
Yeah, exactly. You know? There are plenty of ideas that still can be put to screen, and this movie was a great example of that.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was a spooky ghost story, and a story I hadn't seen.
Yeah. You don't. This is usually the type of story that you tell in like one of those straight dramas. Mm-hmm. like a straight art house drama. But no, it's a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It also reminded me of, God, what was that movie called? I think the movie was called Undocumented.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Where it was like, it was actually an American movie about someone trying to cross the border into the United States and then like being brutalized when they got here.
Yeah. I can't remember.
It was there's some shades of that, though. That movie was way more of like a torture horror movie.
Yeah.
You know? Imagine the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but instead of like Southern people, the metaphor is Americans.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Anyway, now I'm just talking about random movies. So if you made it this far into the vlog, what hashtag should we use for this one?
Ooh. Hashtag thief?
Hashtag thief? All right. If you made it this far into the vlog, then put hashtag thief somewhere into your comments below so that way I know you watched the vlog all the way through. And with that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Well, you can find me on Twitch at Count_Jackula every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can also follow me on Twitter at JackSatanWave and on Instagram at Satanic Jackula. And love to see you at the streams. Your turn.
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. I almost lost my train of thought, but I actually kept it. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you would like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. And all I really want to say at the end of this vlog is just be kind to people.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
You know, you don't know what people have been through. You know, just like someone coming from another country is not your enemy. They're not a leech. They are not...
Well, the leech one is the one I find the most insulting.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know.
They are just people trying to survive like you are.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
And we in these Western countries have such a privilege that we don't actually have to make those kinds of harsh choices that they had to make to get here. Right?
No, definitely not now, because like most of the Western world is in an economic war, but not a shooting war.
So just like next time you see someone and like they've immigrated to your country and maybe they speak a different language or whatever, if your first thought is something awful, I get that, but like make sure your second thought is, hey, stop being an idiot. You know, stop being an idiot. And that guy is just trying to live like you are.
Yeah. Imagine that you lived with that person your entire life, and you'll know how to react.
And with that said, now that we've entered the Horror Guru's touchy-feely corner, Benny loves you.
Hey, Benny.
Peace out, and I'll catch y'all later.
Pull up a chair, deep in the crypt from a blood red chair.